Hello, I'm Luc Bouchard, and thank you so much for being on my Forgiveness Declarations website. I've created this video to talk about how I was inspired to come up with these, my Forgiveness Declarations. And it's a story of following prompts and listening to the Holy Spirit. And it goes back to under a year ago to August 15th, 2021. And I'm in, it's a Sunday, and I'm in a ACIM Zoom meeting, and the facilitator for that day was Micah, and she's from the Netherlands. And she's taking questions, and Micah says, or somebody asked Micah, said, so how do you forgive somebody who's clearly an asshole? Like, how do you forgive somebody who's really disagreeable and makes your life miserable? And Micah said, without any hesitation, she said that, well, you have to forgive yourself for believing that they've done anything to you in the first place. It's like, forgive myself for believing. Forgive myself for believing. I probably wrote it down. I should check, but it was like one of those ideas that go, I forgive myself for believing. And this idea would not leave me alone. It was like it was there. It was like constantly rolling around my head. And so 5 days later, as I'm still having this in the background of my mind, when I'm supposed to be looking for work because I was unemployed, and I still am unemployed, I was not really, this idea was not going anywhere, and it was there. And so what I did was I actually chose to write some of them down just to get them out of my head because I was worried about losing them. So I took out my journal at the time and I started writing these out. And I forgive myself for believing that God doesn't have my back. I forgive myself for believing I'm a body. I forgive myself for second guessing God's plan. And 2 hours later, I had like, I don't know, 125 of them. They just kept coming. And at one point I had to drive somewhere. So as I'm driving, I'm in my phone, I'm, making voice recordings of them because I didn't want to forget them. So that was a couple hours, and they were handwritten out. And so then the next thing was, okay, well, I've written these, so now what? Because it was like, you got me to write these, Holy Spirit. What? Now what? Because I felt like I spewed them, or I upchucked them out, and there they were. And the prompt that came to me was, well, write them out, type them out. So I spent a couple hours writing them out, and going. There was a lot of overlap. Well, not a lot. There was overlap, but some were saying the same thing. So I kind of weeded them out, and that was the end of the day. And then the next day was Saturday. It was just like, okay, so I wrote these out. Now what? And the message I got was, well, put them on individual cards. And so I just took regular paper, not really anything fancy from my printer, and I printed them out and basically cut them up because I wanted to be able to hold them and see what they're like. And these are what they were. So I did that, and then I actually brought these to, there's a gathering of my some people here in my home city of Edmonton. We had a gathering, and I brought them and I showed them to them, and people thought they were kind of cool and kind of, neat and whatnot, and that was good. And then so it was, the next day was like, okay, well, now what? I have these on here. What should I do? And then I was prompted to actually put them on cardstock. And here are the same ones, so much thicker paper, obviously. And the first one here is, I forgive myself for believing that I have to attack others to be safe. And so I had these, and it was there on cardstock, and I could show them to people, and, they were, okay, that's fine. And so then the next thought, my next question was, okay, so now that I have them, I've read them out, I have them on cardstock, now what?